what's up, hockey fans, and welcome to episode number 65 of Martys Illegal Stick Hockey Podcast, recording here on February 23rd, 2022. I'm Scott Kinville, and man, have we got a great show lined up for you today. Before we bring our guest in, I'm going to bring in my co-host. You know what? He is decked out in NWO. I love it.
I know I was going to regret this.
What else would you expect from the Macho Dom Real? What's going on, buddy?
You want me to put the shades on too? Because I will. No, I'm just kidding. What's going on, everybody? We're hanging out, rocking and rolling on social media. Give us a follow on everything. We got a great guest. You normally would hear his voice on Wednesday nights, but you're not tonight for some reason. So let's enjoy this.
Absolutely. And that guest is, you know him as the voice of the Comets. He is far and away the best play-by-play announcer in the American Hockey League. He is the one. He is the only Mr. Jason Shaya. What's up, Jason?
It's a lovely introduction. Thank you very much. I appreciate
it. Couldn't have done it better himself.
No, we appreciate you coming on, man. So, yeah, we were just talking. It's unusual not to have a game on a Wednesday night.
It is unusual. So, I mean, I'll take the night off. We're going to, you end up playing. No matter how much I try to get my mind to contort around it, we're still going to play 72 games a year. So there's a lot of games condensed into a short amount of time. And when there's time off, that's why I have a hat on and I have not shaved. So I'm enjoying that part of it.
Absolutely. Of course, poor guy gets a night off from announcing and he's got to come on a show with us.
Yeah, that's right. Keep it nice and tight and quick.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So, Jason, let's get right to it. I mean, you've got the bird's eye view of the Comets for every game. What are some of the keys to the success of this team this season? Because it's been a runaway success story. First team to 30 wins in the AHL, been at or near the top of the AHL all season long. What do you see as some of the keys that have made this machine go like it has?
Well, I just interviewed Ryan Schmelzer for television today, so it'll air on Friday, I believe, part one. And yeah, you're saying, we had the team in Binghamton last year. It was in Newark, technically, right? And they only won 5 games, I think, or whatever they won. They didn't win many games. And then you go into the season with, he said, probably 60, 70% of the guys come over to Utica. So you really didn't know what to expect. A little bit changeover, obviously a new head coach. But no one knew that they were going to win 13 straight games to start the year or be the first, like you said, team to 30 wins. And it's done with a combination of a lot of things, but I think let's start with the goaltending. You're getting incredible goaltending from 2 young kids. And that was not the plan, to start with 2 rookies in the AHL. I think the idea was that you have Bernier and Blackwood there. You'd have Wedgwood in the American League mentoring a younger kid. That didn't end up happening that way. So then you think, oh, man, that's going to be tough. But it ended up working out from the goaltending perspective. The defense have been very, very steady. The emergence of Riley Walsh is a really good power play quarterback defenseman, and his ability to move the puck to the forwards and get away from the forecheck has been great. And then you have 4 lines, and I was talking to Adam Pollock, who does color with me sometimes, and we're looking at the lineup for the last game, and you really can't tell if there's a 4th line or first line. The depth at forward is so good that they're getting scoring from all 4 lines, and when you have to defend against that, it becomes very difficult for the opposition.
Oh, no doubt about it. And bringing a new coach in, Coach Kevin Dineen has just made this team into a powerhouse. I mean, that's
awesome.
What a turnaround from, like when you mentioned last year what they went through in Binghamton to this year. What do you think that some of the things that Coach Dineen has done is, and not just X's and O's? I mean, as far as just bringing a whole new attitude to the team.
Yeah, it's a good point. I mean, the team has rallied around the message that he's sending, and every time you have buy-in from your players on a total top to bottom, veterans, rookies, whatever it is, and they're buying into the system, then I think you have something going pretty good. Now, I'm not in the room at all, and I don't really go around that very much, but I'll tell you right now, those guys are bought in, and they're bought into the message that Kevin Dineen is putting into them, and they're in their heads all the time. And you can see it. I say it on the air all the time. A Kevin Dineen coach team plays the same way, whether they're down by 2 or up by 2. They play hard. They play physical. There's not a lot of room on the ice, and they seem to embrace the moment. And I think that's one thing that he's brought to the table, and it's obviously paid off in terms of wins.
Oh, no doubt. There's no doubt about it. I mean, just top to bottom, contributions all across the board. You mentioned Riley Walsh, who has just been a fantastic, I mean, you called it the best, the quarterback that makes the go around, so to speak, right? I mean, Fabian Zetterlund has been unbelievable this year. Third year in the AHL. He's breaking out like crazy now. I mean, this is about 18 goals, 18 assists, I think he has so far. Alexander Holtz in Utica has been as good as advertised.
Yeah.
I mean, he spent a little bit of time up in New Jersey. I think maybe coming back to the Comets was very beneficial, obviously, for him to get his feet under him, to get his game going. With all these, I mean, Nolan Foot's been, his game he's rebounded very nicely. He was in a little bit of a slump for a little while, came back nicely. What are some of the unsung heroes on this Comets team, though?
One kid I like watching a lot is Graham Clark. I think he's going to be a good young product for this New Jersey Devils organization. He'll play in the NHL. Lots of skill, young kid, right shot. He likes to shoot the puck too. I really like the way he's played the game. I'm trying to think of the line. You mentioned the Swedes as well. In combination with each other, they've been great. Chase DeLeo is another kid who has led the team in scoring for most of the season until they went weirdly 3 games without a point. But he's been another guy who's driven the engine really, really well when he's been asked to carry some of the offensive load. So, I mean, there are some, and I think one of the most unsung heroes of the team are AJ Greer and Nate Schnarr, 2 big kids. Yes. They play hard. AJ Greer's having an incredible year, and 4 goals in 1 game, shootout winner the next. There's a lot to like between Schnarr and AJ Greer, and again, it's nice to talk about Zetterlund and Holtz. Why wouldn't you? They've been that good. But then you add these other pieces in who are also scoring and putting up numbers. That's what makes a team very good on a nightly basis.
Oh, absolutely. 100%. And you know what? I'm glad you mentioned Chase DeLeo too, because I mean, he's 35 or 36 points, and he's only played in 27 or 28 games. Yeah. So I mean, he's averaging over a point a game, which he's
averaging over a point a game. And like I said, he went 3 games without a point, and it was just strange. That's not abnormal for any hockey player to go, but for Chase, who was at one point, I think, if you put up an assist in a game, you're like, oh, he must have had a bad night. He puts up 2 goals and an assist. You're like, okay, that's more like it. That's more normal. That's not normal. That's an anomaly for a player to do that. But he does it consistently, and he's so good offensively. And the one thing about Chase, he's not tall. He's obviously not tall. I think he's listed at 5'10", maybe 5'9". But he's still a physical presence as well. You're not just going to knock him over. Like he'll take the hits, but he'll also dish him out too. So he's an all-around great player.
Yeah, and that's really what the Comets calling card has been this year too. Just physicality,
gritty, tough.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you look at the defense. I mean, you got some big guys out on defense too. Kevin Ball. I mean, here's a guy who's got his own fan club, right?
Right. He has his own fan club. Yeah. And I was really cool to watch him be the number 1 star of that one game, and the fan club, get down, and they were down by the glass, and he embraced it. He relished the moment. I think that was a very cool moment for him, for the team.
Oh, absolutely. And Tyler Wotherspoon back too, which is going to be huge.
No doubt. The Comets have a very deep defensive unit. 7 guys now. Masonius went back, so Wotherspoon will step in, and that means you really got to fight for a spot there. I mean, if you're on the defensive side, with a few exceptions, you're not going to have a guarantee to play unless you compete. And that's the best thing about a team like Utica, is if you want to be in the lineup, you got to compete for it.
Absolutely. So there was a little bit of news today that Merrick Mittens was sent to Adirondack Thunder of the ECHL. There's something that's going to be a permanent thing. I don't quite think so, though. What do you think?
Nope, he'll just go play a game and come right back. That's all.
Yeah,
just get a game under his belt.
Well, yeah, because I mean, he's in kind of a tough spot right now, because obviously Nico Dawes and Akira Schmidt are eating up most of the starts, and that's a great point. You got to give him some games just to keep him fresh and sharp more than anything else, really.
Yep.
As we mentioned earlier, Comets are basically running away with the AHL North. But what are some of the teams in that division that you think match up best with the Comets?
Well, Toronto is always going to be a tough. I mean, Toronto's a team that I think will, if you play it out on paper, it's Utica and Toronto to finish out the North to see who goes on to the conference finals. That's just on paper. Nothing ever ends up working out like that. But Toronto is a powerhouse team every year because they have deep pockets. They spend money at the American League to win. And so no matter what the year is, they have the ability to win. We saw what they did to the Comets in Toronto, the first team to really, for the most part, kind of, I don't want to say manhandle the Comets. That's unfair, but they played a really good game, and the Comets were not effective in their attack. So that team in Toronto is very scary. Rochester gets a full lineup, and they have Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen in a goal, that's not going to be easier. And I think the first round's best of 5. I think they change the formats every year. I can never remember, but you're playing best of 5, and that's scary. I don't care who you go against in best of 5. You score, you win that first game no matter what, and you're in trouble right away. And when panic starts to set in, then anything can happen. So, let's say a player's hurt too, and you don't have one of your key players, and now you only have 3 or 4 games to kind of get back into it. It's tough. I mean, you got to get out of the first round. Getting out of the starting blocks will be really key. No matter who they go up against, it's going to be tough in a 5-game series.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
And everybody's going to be gunning for them the second they get there.
Well, they are every game. I mean, it doesn't matter. Like, look at Cleveland.
Yeah.
Cleveland is one of the, I think, the worst. I say has the worst record in at least the Eastern Conference, and that was their Stanley Cup, beating the Utica Comets. I'm not trying to insult them, but they're not making the playoffs.
Right. But it's true. You're right.
They didn't play the game against Utica on that Saturday after they lost the Friday night game like they were just throwing the towel in. They played to win, and they did win the game on great goaltending and timely goal scoring. So yeah, anybody can beat anybody. This is, if I bet on the American Hockey League, I'm already broke because I'm a minor league hockey broadcaster, but I would be more broke than because I would never be able to tell you who's going to win a game. I have no idea.
Right. It's the jungle, man. It's the jungle.
That's so true. But you mentioned Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, and I got to say, he's got like one of the funnest names to say ever.
Best name in hockey.
Love it.
It's a great name, and I for some reason, I don't know why I always say the whole name. I don't know what the hell's wrong with me, but I like saying the whole name, so I say it all the time.
Yeah, he's got one of those names. You just say the whole thing. It's awesome. I love it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think actually Laval matches up pretty well with them too.
They're way better than their record. I'm telling you.
Laval's a good team. I mean, I think the last time out in Laval they won. I can't remember any of the outcomes of games once they're done, but so that's another team that's going to be tough to beat too. And the other thing you got to remember is Montreal's not going to make the playoffs. New Jersey's not going to make the playoffs. So more than likely, your AHL team will get some players back if there are players in the NHL. And if you're talking about taking on Toronto or you're taking on Providence, for instance, like when I was in Charlotte in 2019, we were playing the first round against the Providence Bruins, and the Boston Bruins made sure nobody was available for Providence. So they put one of their starting goalie in the stands in Boston rather than have him play in a playoff game in the American League, and they called up a kid from junior, Kyle Kaiser, to play a playoff game in Charlotte because they didn't care about Providence. They just want to win the Stanley Cup. And the Blackhawks did that for years and years with Rockford. Rockford would go into the playoffs, and the Blackhawks would call everyone they could to sit in the stands and be a black ace for the possibility that one of those players gets hurt in an American League playoff, and they go, no, we're not dealing with that. If we need a guy, we're not having him play in the AHL. Some teams operate that way. The New Jersey Devils will not make the playoffs, so let's see how the Comets roster looks after the trade deadline and whatnot. But then, you have the benefit of having everybody available to you.
Yeah, that is true. But I think, like we were just saying, I mean, New Jersey's kind of a long shot to make the playoffs this year. So, I mean, the Comets should have a full roster going into the AHL playoffs. I just want to ask you, let's go behind the mic with Jason Shaya here. What are some of the preparations that go into calling a game?
So I have a lot that it usually starts 2 days before. So my preparation for Hershey already started today, and I take down all their bio information on a single sheet of paper. So it has their number, their draft year, where they're from, where they played college or junior, the statistics from last season, their age, their years pro, and anything that I need to know about anybody. So Christopher Brown is playing for Hershey. Well, Patrick, his brother, was my captain. We won the Calder Cup. He plays for Philadelphia now. Doug Brown is a 2-time Stanley Cup champion. His dad, who played for the Detroit Red Wings for the most part of his career, and their maternal side part owner of the New York Giants. So you put all those things down on paper, and then if that comes up in the course of the game, you'll say that kind of stuff. The other thing too is day of game, I'll isolate probably 7 to 10 players and their not streaks, and not everybody's on a streak, but what their points are in the last, let's say, 5-6 games. Is anybody on a point streak? You want to get the power play percentage and PK against one another, but just their overall numbers too. Obviously, you want the lines from both teams in the morning so you know who's playing and who's not playing. And then you get statistics on the goalies that are playing in the game. You have those available to you as well. you go through some of your reads for television, and then it's memorization for names and numbers. I spend a lot of time doing memorization, and that's what I worry about the most, and that's my hockey nightmare, is going into a broadcast and not having names and numbers memorized. So,
Man, that's got to be so difficult, because I mean, especially when you learn the Comets throughout the year, of course, but you go into teams that you don't play that often, and you got to be sharp and on the ball with all that, because you're the live guy. So
yeah, I mean, once I get, I've done over 1,000 games, so if you put down 18 names and numbers in front of me, really I could probably get about an A- in about 5 minutes of reciting them. But it's knowing them as the game is going on under the pressure of the lights and having to go quickly on it. That's when really things. So warm-ups are very big, because sometimes it's the first time you see a team live with their sweaters on, and I'm staring at the other teams and going through the numbers over and over again. So by the time you get to the opening face-off, you're not thinking about it anymore. You're just calling the game.
Right. Fair enough.
I'll tell you, you do an incredible job of it. You really do. One last question, we'll get you out of here. So on the road, you're by yourself in the booth. You're the only guy. When you're at home at the Adirondack Training Center, you usually got a color guy. You got like Adam Pollock, the Sestito brothers, and of course Gary Heenan.
Of course, Gary.
Great friend of the show, Gary.
Must see TV when he's there.
It is. Yeah.
Is it more difficult to work alone, or to have somebody with you, or is it like a vice versa kind of thing, or doesn't it matter?
So if you're working with someone who's good at doing color, it makes everything much easier. If you're working with someone who's not enjoying doing color or is not good at it, then it's worse than working by yourself. So it can go either way. And when you do color commentary with someone who's doing it for the first time, or just, I've done color with a lot of people, and sometimes people just aren't interested in doing it. And then you have to pull teeth. And then you're working hard, because now you're working for two people. When I'm in the booth by myself, you become the color commentator of sorts, but it's all play calling at that point. But in a regular broadcast with a color commentator, it's not all play calling, because you'll get the color commentator's analysis during the game, which breaks up the play calling. But in the situation I'm in, where I'm in the booth for the most part by myself, then you get a little less commentary, a little bit more me talking to myself, try to, it's finding, whatever,
right.
You can, because you break the monotony of calling the game over and over and over again. Hockey, only the same 7 things happen all the time. You pass and shots, and you get hits, and you get face-offs and icings. My God. So you got to find a way to say it all the time differently, or come up with something clever, I guess. But the games can be long, and hockey at its absolute best is flowing. It's constant. There's no whistles up and down the ice. Hockey at its absolute worst looks like a football game, where the constant whistling, where you're only playing for 3, 4, 5 seconds at a time, where the linesman won't drop the puck, and then you're in there for 3 hours, and and you're never gonna, you'll go crazy,
Right, for sure. We should get a little bit of everything in the HL.
That's true, but there are worse ways to make a living than calling. I'm not complaining about my job, but you want the game. I saw something on Twitter. It said something like, if you had to redo the game and remake the game again, what would you do? And I would remake the game, and I would play the game 4-on-4. Number one, I would play 5-on-5 hockey, and I would also have 2 halves. I would not have 3 periods. And the reason, they're never going to change that. The owners want people going to the concession stands twice, but it's the only sport that tells its fans twice a game, all right, you can go leave for 20 minutes and then you come back. No, this is not a good idea. You want to have a half, and you want to play the hot, play hot, but that would never happen.
A little soccer action. I like it.
Anything you can do to create much more flow and less whistles, because that's what sells our sport, is the constant back and forth. It's the only sport where I think you can change on the fly, right? You can't change on the fly in the middle of a play in football. You can't do it in basketball without a whistle. You can't do it, but we have the ability you could play 20 minutes without anything stopping, conceivably. Never going to happen, but you could do it. That's what makes our sport great. It's the flow of the game. And when you have the constant whistles and constant stopping of the game, man, it's not fun for anybody. No one's getting anything out of that.
Right.
Yeah, especially when the linesman takes like 5 minutes. Like you mentioned that drives me.
Yeah, paid $900 a year to watch the guy not drop the puck. It's awesome.
I know. One of my biggest fans, Don Cherry, would say this all the time. They always drop it the second time. They throw the guy out the first time, and they're going to drop it the second time. So why don't you drop it the first time? Because of the make-believe rules that they're coming up with on this. Of course, I don't know. They just have to play a part of the game, and it absolutely ruins the game. They should have the damn thing dropped by a drone. Just drop the thing and get out of the way. We're here to watch
hockey.
hockey games.
Like bubble
Yes,
hockey.
let it pop up. Let it pop up from the ground.
Just hit a button. Boop.
Fine, I'm fine with that. Just let's go. So that's the thing about our game that needs to change. Is what you're
right.
So, but yeah.
Not to drag this out at all, Jason, but I do have a question because I love broadcasts. It's like something I'm a big fan of. Is there anybody in the game now or before that's a broadcaster that you just love to listen to?
So I would, I haven't done this in a while, but I would do pump up videos for myself by listening to Best of Bob Cole or Best of Gary Thorne. So I'll put those calls on before a game. TSN was it TSN or Sportsnet? Sportsnet did an unbelievable tribute to Bob Cole, and it's on YouTube. And that I grew up watching Hockey Night in Canada on CBC because we had Channel 9 in my mom and dad's room, and that was what made me a hockey fan growing up, watching the Edmonton Oilers, win Stanley Cups in the 80s. And I loved listening to Bob Cole call a hockey game. I think my calls is much more Gary. I mean, I'm putting myself in Gary Thorne's spot, but it's much more Gary Thorne-esque than it is Bob Cole. But Bob Cole was able to capture the emotion of the game by his timing, by his voice. I don't know if this is true or not. I just made this up, but I thought about it. Bob Cole's voice, the actual sound of his voice, has a certain note. It's a certain tone, and it for some reason sounds beautiful when attached to a crowd. They come together and sound like it's a part of a choir, and he's just the lead singer in front of it. So when he sang the game, his voice was like he was singing the game. It was operatic. It was unbelievable. Gary Thorne was like a sledgehammer, and nobody hit those goal calls better than Gary Thorne in those big moments than him. He was, in my opinion, the best of his era at calling those big moments. Yzerman's double overtime Game 7 winner in the conference semifinals against St. Louis.
Yep.
When Ray Bourque was handled the Stanley Cup for the first time. When Gretzky became the greatest all-time goal scorer. When Mark Messier scored into an empty net to seal the deal against New Jersey in Game 7.
Mm-hmm.
I could go on and on about what Gary Thorne was able to bring to the fore in terms of his moments on the air. And that's what you want to do as a broadcaster. You want to be pithy and you want to step out of the way. Too many guys trample on moments in the game by saying too many words when the crowd is taking over. And the crowd I would learn this from Fred McLeod, who is now passed on, who was one of my mentors, the voice of the Cavaliers when he passed away. But he's told me that you can do nothing better than 20,000 people screaming and a goal horn going off. Only thing you can do is ruin it. And you let the crowd be a part of your broadcast. And like we talked about for like an orchestra, they're an instrument. You don't want to drown them out by describing the play. So, my overtime call in the NHL, when I had Doug Hamilton score in overtime, it was Hamilton fires, scores, and then I let the goal horn go off. I let the crowd have that moment for about 3 or 4 seconds. And then I came back in with Hamilton scores, Carolina wins it 5-4 in overtime. Yes, sir. And that was the end. And I'm out. I didn't go on and on with it. You let the crowd have the moment because that's what you want to capture for a broadcast. When you turn the game on the radio or you're watching the television and you hear the crowd chanting undefeated or they're chanting Utica, I'll acknowledge that chant because I think it's cool. But I want them to have that moment because that's the best part of my broadcast. Talking over it just makes me a jerk.
Right.
I love it.
It's true. No, it's true because the 13 wins in 13 games call that was like perfect. That was perfect. Let the crowd go. It was tremendous.
Correct.
I think you did a great job with that.
Thank you. I try at the end of games. It's not always easy because they don't always end the right way. But you want to have. I did in the NHL. We were playing. The Canes were playing against Dallas. I was calling the game for Colorado or for Carolina, and was going to its final 15 seconds. The Canes were going to win it 3-0, and I just said, "We'll let the crowd count you down." And I just didn't say a word until the final horn.
Yeah,
let the crowd count you down. You got 20,000 people screaming. You want to hear it. I want to hear that.
Oh, absolutely. There's no doubt about it. And I'll tell you though, you just bring so much excitement to the Comets call. It's just unbelievable. You do such a great job. And there's something you do that's really cool, especially in the overtime. If you're watching on the TV broadcast or on the radio broadcast, you do the Twitter thing where who's going to score the Comets goal. So just for anybody who's listening out there, what's that Twitter handle?
Oh, it's at Jason_Shaya, Shaya. But I try to get them in for overtime and then read them before. And then, if I can get them all in, I'll get them all in, just because I want people to be engaged in the game in a way that you wouldn't otherwise be and I'm not very good at technology. I'm not good at tweeting. I don't tweet very much. I certainly don't do the Utica Comets Twitter account. That's somebody else. So that's not my specialty at all, but I can toggle through some of the notifications and read them quickly, because that's the best part of overtime. Who the hell do you think is going to score? Let us know people, so we do that. We do it we have fun up there. I mean, listen, there is one of my favorite guys in this business is a guy named Steve Lattin. He was a longtime equipment manager for the Pittsburgh Penguins. And he called me Rogie Vachon, little goalie. So he'd always say, Rogie, we got to have fun. Rogie, you got to have fun. He'd always say that to me. Like, we're working in sports. It's got to be fun. We're not going to a funeral. We're not digging ditches. We're having fun. And so when you go to the rink, maybe you're having a bad day, maybe something's going on. No, we're here to have fun. People pay to come to games. Robert Esch pays me to come to games. So I don't get to complain. I get to call games. Now, I do complain a lot about a lot of stuff, but I keep it to myself for the most part. But yes, we're underneath it all. We're there to have fun. We're there to watch these kids play. They're the game. The spotlight shines on them. And that's what our job is, to make these guys look good.
Well, like I said, you do a great job of it. And just looking at some of the comments we're getting in here, I mean, everybody loves the work you do.
You've been embraced by the fan base, which is awesome.
Oh, good. That's good. I heard there's again, I don't mean to be insulting. I don't know. I don't even have Facebook. So there's Facebook stuff. There might be Twitter stuff. I stay away from all of it. So that's very nice. I didn't know that. I appreciate it. Anytime there's feedback, one guy chirped me on Twitter on my direct messages and said that I was calling the other team's goals with more enthusiasm than our goal calls. And I was absolutely convinced he was listening to the wrong broadcaster. I said, you switch it over to the other. What the hell are you talking about? And then I sent him a goal call of mine going, are you sure? Like, maybe you – and he never responded to me. He didn't respond back and say, well, no, I'm pretty sure you're listening to the wrong broadcaster, man.
Right. Yeah, you got to set to the wrong side, bud.
Yeah. You got to set to the other team's broadcaster. Yeah. Their fans would say that about me when I call goals against our team.
Well, I got to laugh too when you talk about technology, because I have to tell you, Dom gets very aggravated with me because I'm the same way.
I don't get aggravated.
I was waiting for this to go.
Don't get aggravated.
I'm still stuck on a Commodore 64, so it's all good.
I grew up with technology. It's easier for me. That's it. It's not your fault or mine. That's just how it is.
I remember. This is no joke. My dad's been gone since 1997, but I remember when we were younger, probably like 14 at the time, 13, around there. And he said, hey, we should buy a computer for our home. And my brother was he's all about it. We're the same age, my brother, relatively speaking. So I said, this is the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. Who the hell's going to have a computer in their house? What do you need a computer for? We have a typewriter. What the hell do you need a computer for? And I didn't see it. So I don't get it. I didn't have a cell phone until I was like 26 years old. Like, why the hell do I need a cell phone? I have a phone. I have an answering machine. Someone needs me, they leave a message. I'm not good at technology.
I'm missing all that much.
A big step for me too.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
And then that's how as Drew just said in the comments, complaining about the music in Rochester.
Oh, that's bad. The guy, whoever's running that show, that's one of the few buildings that I go, this music sucks. This is bad. It is bad. I don't know. Sometimes you hear, where was I the other day? We were in Toronto, and you'll hear I'm an old school rock and metal guy. So you hear some like deep cut Metallica stuff, not Enter Sandman for God's sakes, but you'll hear some stuff from Ride the Lightning. You're like, oh, I want to meet the person. Somebody played Tool, I think 46 and 2, like, okay, all right. I suddenly I'm into the game again because there's some music, right. But I don't want to hear it. And in our building, Gina was playing Whitesnake. She was playing Still the Night. Like, man, if I could do the music every game, I'd be so much more interested during the whistles. Maybe I wouldn't complain about the whistles so much if the music was better.
Are you talking about our building?
More responsibilities.
Our building's okay. I don't have a problem with our building. We play some really good stuff, but some of the other buildings, it's just absolutely horrible.
Oh boy!
See, that explains the goal calls. Why the guy thought you were getting jacked up for the other team's goal calls. You were liking the music.
Maybe you're right about that. That's a good point.
Oh man! Well, listen, Jason, we appreciate you coming on the show tonight. This has been a lot of fun, man.
Thank you.
Anytime.
And just keep up the great work with the calls for the Comets and everything else, man. It's been fantastic this year. And you know what? You're welcome to come back anytime you want. So
you let me know. I appreciate it, guys.
All right.
Appreciate it a lot.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Take care. I see how to get out of this thing. What do I do? Oh, I got it. It says
there you go.
I'm gonna hit that one. All right. See you guys.
Take care, buddy. Thank you.